Hey there, thank you for joining me for today's practice. So for today, make yourself nice and comfortable on your mat. So as you can see, I've laid down a couple of blankets here just to soften up the surface. And I've got my block and I've got a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, then grab yourself a few firm cushions or pillows as something that you can use in your practice in a couple of the poses today. Make sure you're nice and warm. Today's sequence is really about grounding and down regulating the system. So we're going to be starting seated, working with a breath practice, and then we'll just move into a couple of poses and then come down onto our back as well. And so we're just really going to focus on the breathing throughout today, particularly that exhale to try to quieten down any, overactive sort of thinking. It's a practice you can do anytime. It's a lovely practice to do in the evening as well. So make sure you're nice and comfortable, and then we're going to make a start in a seated position. So either with your cushion or your block, sitting down and coming into a comfortable, just cross-legged position into your Sukhasana, or you could come into your Japanese seat. Just using the block or the cushion just to help elevate your hips to lengthen out through the lower back. Rest the hands down onto the legs, and whenever you're ready, gently closing down the eyes. Just taking this time just to check in with yourself. Just noticing where you're at with an open and kind curiosity. Just allowing the shoulders to fall away from the ears. Feeling the sit bones grounding down into the block. And the length of the entire spinal column all the way up and out through the crown of the head. And when you're ready, bringing to mind your sankalpa. And repeating your sankalpa 3 times to yourself. And then starting to follow the breathing in and out through the nose. So following the natural breath to begin with. Just noticing the quality of your breathing. And where you feel it in the body. And we'll shortly move into a breath practice, which is based on Ujjayi breathing, but also known as 4-7-8. So it's an in-breath for 4, a holding at the top for 7, and then an exhale for 8. And if for any reason holding the breath doesn't feel good for you, then please just skip that part. You can inhale for 4 and exhale for 8. But I'll guide the holding of the breath. The slowing down of the breathing really helps the nervous system regulate. It's particularly activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. So now when you're ready, let's start to deepen into the inhale, no counting just yet, and slowing down the exhale. Breathing in and out through the nose, and you might be able to start to bring in that ujjayi breathing, that slight constriction at the back of the throat, bringing in that oceanic sound as you inhale and as you exhale. And then let's exhale together. And then on the next in-breath, just counting to yourself 1, 2, 3, 4 at the top, holding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue just counting to yourself for another couple of minutes. Last couple of rounds here. Noticing if there's any tension that's creeping in, just releasing the jaw, relax the hips if you can. Just finishing off your last round, and then just continue to stay with your breathing. Just allowing for a gentle lengthening of the inhale and the exhale Just letting go of the counting, letting go of any holding. And then when you're ready, blinking open the eyes, coming off your block or your cushions, just staying in your cross-legged position, right leg in front of the left, hands by your side, taking an inhale to lengthen up, and then exhale, walking your hands forward, lengthening out through both sides of the waist. Coming back to the breath, and just whenever you can throughout today's practice, just noticing if you can extend into the exhale a little bit more. And on the next in-breath, walking the hands back up, taking the right hand away from the right hip, left arm up and over, resting down onto the forearm if that's available, pressing down through that left sitting bone, eyes looking up towards the ceiling, opening up through that left side body. And then taking an inhale, coming back upright, swap the legs around. In breath to lengthen out through both sides of the waist, and then exhale, walking your hands forward. Sealing down through the palms of the hands. And then on the next in-breath, walking your hands up. Taking that left hand away from the left hip, right arm up and over, either staying on the hand or coming down to that left forearm, pressing down through the right sitting bone and gazing up towards the ceiling. Dropping that left shoulder away from the left ear. And then take an inhale, coming back upright. Placing the feet flat onto the mat or the ground, opening the feet a little bit wider than the hips, hands behind you, and just taking some windscreen wipers here, so letting the knees drop over to the right, come through center, and knees dropping over to the left. Just including the breath as you inhale through center, exhale to drop the legs down, inhale through center, exhale to drop the legs down. And then coming back to center, grabbing your cushions or your bolster, popping it up to in the top third part of your mat. And then coming over onto the right hip here, placing the hip close to your bolster or your cushions, laying down over the bolster and extending and resting down onto that right arm, taking the left arm up and over, and then catching that left wrist so you can take a gentle stretch and lengthening of that top arm to help open up through that left side body. You might need to play around with your positioning. So you're really feeling like you're opening up through this whole left side of the body, particularly down into that lower part of the spine, or side of the spine. If it feels comfortable to close down the eyes and closing them down, just allowing the legs to be relaxed. Coming back to that slow breath, particularly on the exhale, in and out through the nose. Three more full breaths here. Noticing if there's any space to let that left hip drop a little bit further away from the left shoulder. And then opening up the eyes, just using your hands to help you come back upright, turning to face the top of your mat, bending the knees, feet flat on the mat, hands underneath the thighs, taking an inhale to lift the sternum, lift the chest, lift the eyes, and then as you exhale, C curving through the spine, tucking the chin in, and then once again, inhale, lengthening and extending through the spine, and then exhale, C curving, tucking the chin in, and then inhale to come back up. And then we'll go to the other side. So just coming over onto that left hip, just that right leg resting on top of that left leg, laying your rib cage down onto the bolster, taking the right arm up and over and catching that right wrist and lengthening it over. If you're finding that your head feels really uncomfortable here, you might need to pop a little blanket or cushion under here. That can help you feel a bit more supported. Otherwise, just resting the head down. Just feeling into that right side of the body, the right armpit and upper arm, muscles at the base of the neck, softening. As you exhale, thinking about that right hip moving away from the right shoulder. Just feeling free to close the eyes. Last 3 breaths here. And then opening up the eyes, using your hands to press down to the ground, to the bolster, making your way up to seated, opening the feet out a little bit wider than the hips. Once again, hands behind the thighs, take an inhale to extend through the spine, lift the sternum, lift the eyes, and then exhale, C curving, draw the navel in, tuck the chin in, inhale to extend, and then exhale to C curve, and then coming back upright. Let's pop the bolster off to the side for now. And then lying down on your back. Bending the knees up, arms down by your side. And then placing that right ankle on top of the left thigh. And then bringing the legs in towards you if that's available. Threading that right hand through the middle, either behind the left thigh, on top of that left shin, interlacing the fingers. Flex that right foot and press the right knee away from the right shoulder. Just taking an inhale. As you exhale, try to squeeze the legs in and hold it here. Try to press the back of the pelvis back down onto the mat as you draw the legs in. Shoulder heads drop back towards the mat. And remembering to lengthen at the exhale. Just noticing what you feel in the body. Just 3 more full breaths here. Last exhale. Just keeping the shape of the legs, let's release that left foot back down, and then we're going to drop the legs over to the right into an open twist variation here. So letting the legs drop down, and you can lengthen that left foot a little bit further. That might help you come down a bit more. Don't worry if you're not coming down to the mat. Keeping that right foot flexed and just using that as a little bit of bit of pressure to try to lengthen that left knee down. Try to relax the lower back down towards the mat and then open the arms out to the side. And if you would like to, turning the head to look over towards the left hand, maybe closing down the eyes. Directing the breathing to where you feel this most in the body. Maybe the front of the left thigh or hip, outside of that left glute, or maybe into the lower back. Is there any space to soften, particularly on that exhale? And then let's take an inhale, come back through center. And place that left foot down flat on the mat. And then let's take that right leg straight up to the ceiling. And you might stay here. You might be able to bring the leg a little bit closer towards you, walking your hands up, flexing the right foot towards the face. And if this is somewhere where you need to use a strap or a scarf or something like that, please feel free to grab that. Otherwise, just holding it here. Reach that right heel up towards the ceiling and try to draw the right quadricep up. Take an inhale. And then exhale, little micro bend through that right knee, and then inhale to try and straighten. Exhale to bend, and then inhale to straighten. And again, exhale to bend, inhale to straighten. Just one more time. Inhale and exhale. Let's hold it here with a straight leg, either staying with that left leg bent, or if it's available, maybe straightening both legs. Allow the shoulder heads to drop back down towards the mat. Find the breath. Think about that right hip crease moving away from the right shoulder. So we're trying to open up that right side of the body. Just allow the eyes to be steady. You could gaze towards the right big toe or just somewhere straight ahead, or even just close the eyes. Two more full breaths. And on the last exhale, let's soften into that right leg. Extend the right leg away long and let both legs be long. Let the feet fall away from one another, arms by your side, palms facing up. Taking a few moments just to observe the body. Noticing any difference you might feel between the right and the left side of the body after that work we've been doing. And then let's bend into the knees, feet flat onto the mat, and placing that left ankle on top of the right thigh, bringing the legs in, threading that left hand through behind the thigh or in front of the shin. Keeping the left foot flexed, left knee away from the left shoulder. Taking an inhale, and then exhale to try and squeeze the legs in towards you. Just holding where you can. Just notice how unnecessary tension starts to creep into the body. It might be in the jaw, the shoulders. Relaxing the back of the neck. Taking one more inhale here. And then exhale, trying to squeeze in a little bit more. And then keeping the shape of the legs, let's place that right foot flat onto the mat and then going for that open twist, so letting the legs drop over to the left, maybe shifting that right foot, so lengthening the foot a little bit more. Just keeping that left foot flexed, so you've got a little bit of a lever or support there to try to draw that right knee down towards the mat, just to where you can. And then opening the arms out to the side, and then maybe turning the eyes to look towards that right hand. You could close the eyes. And once again, just directing the breath to where you feel this the most in the body. And trying to let go of any unnecessary effort here. And you may be experiencing some very strong sensations in this pose. Just notice how you can use your breathing to try and soften. Or if it's not softening at the moment, that's also okay. Just using the breath to try and stay with the sensation as best you can for the last few breaths. And then let's take an inhale, coming back to center with the legs, placing that right foot flat onto the mat, and then taking that left leg up to the ceiling, holding behind the thigh, calf or ankle, flexing the left foot, toes towards the face, heel extending up towards the ceiling. Just pressing back down through the back of the pelvis as well. And then let's take an inhale to bend, and then exhale to extend. And again, inhale to bend, and exhale to extend, trying to straighten. And again, inhale and exhale. And one more time, inhale and exhale. Let's hold it here, either staying here, or if it's available, you would like to, take that right leg away long, flexing both feet, pressing down through the back of that right thigh. Just allowing the shoulders to try to relax back down towards the mat. Lower belly falling back in towards the spine. Maybe gazing towards the big toe or closing down the eyes. Just meeting any resistance in the body with your breathing. Try to slow down that exhale. Three more full breaths. Relax the back of the neck. Release the jaw. Last breath here. Taking one more inhale. And then as you exhale, bending into that left leg and extending the left leg away long, letting the feet fall away from one another, arms away from the body, palms facing up. Just allowing the eyes to close. Just observing the body. And again, just noticing any difference or similarities now between the left and the right side of the body. And then opening up the eyes, bending the knees up, grabbing hold of your bolster or your cushions, and then lifting the hips up and placing the bolster underneath the pelvis. Just resting the pelvis down, arms opening out, palms facing up. And if this feels good for you, you could just stay here. But if you'd like to open up a little bit more through the lower back and the front of the hips, you can extend the legs out long. If it feels comfortable to do so, closing down the eyes. Remembering that slow exhale. 2 more full breaths here. And then when you're ready, bending the knees if your legs are long. And then everyone pressing down through the feet just to lift the hips up and start to shift the bolster a little bit further away so it can rest underneath your knees. We'll use that for our Savasana. But before we take our Savasana, let's take our happy baby. So bringing the knees in towards the armpits and holding the outsides of the legs or the outsides of the feet. Try to bring the knees in as you press the back of the pelvis down onto the mat. And if you feel like rocking from side to side, just massaging out the lower back. And then coming to stillness in the center, take an inhale, exhale, squeeze the knees in. Let's do that one more time. Take an inhale and then exhale, squeeze the knees in. And then let's release the legs. Resting the legs over your bolster. Arms away from the body, palms facing up. Closing down the eyes. Just making sure that you're warm enough. Completely surrendering the weight of the body now. Just noticing what the body is in contact with. Just feeling those points of contact underneath you. And with each exhale, allowing those points to get a little bit heavier with each exhale. Allowing the face to soften, releasing the jaw, relaxing the throat. Soft belly, whole body, letting go. Just allowing the breath to breathe as it needs to now. So letting go of that longer exhale. Resting here for the next few minutes. Feel free to stay resting here. Otherwise, start to deepen into the breathing, feeling the belly rise and feeling the belly fall. Just continuing to gently extend into the breath again, just feeling the body start to wake up. Bending the knees so you can place your feet onto the bolster. Just rolling the bolster, pushing your cushions away. Just take the arms up above the head, lengthening out through the fingertips, lengthening out through the toes. Take a really big inhale to stretch it out. And then as you exhale, let everything soften. Just bending the knees up one at a time, rolling over to one side. And let's stay resting on your side for a few breaths. And then making your way up to a seated position. Resting the hands down to the knees or the thighs, closing down the eyes. Just feeling into your seat, picturing the whole body. And bringing the palms of the hands together into your prayer in front of the chest, bowing the head down towards your hands. And thank you so much for joining me for today's practice. Namaste.